Hi, we're Yvonne and Jeremy. We got married last year, and now we're exploring the US full-time. In our last video, our one day in Idaho's Coeur d'Alene was full of surprises. Today, we find ourselves at Yellowstone National Park, the first national park established and the second most visited national park in the US.
Good morning. It is Sunday morning. We just finished our church service and then now we're heading into Yellowstone. And it really is no joke. Yellowstone is the most visited park. And at 11:30 in the morning, I guess it's almost noon, there is a line going into Yellowstone. And we're seeing a lot of cars with different out-of-state license plates, so many people have traveled further than us. Yeah, we really have to come earlier on the other days. I need to wake up earlier. We're going to be fighting these crowds to get into the park today. Hopefully the places that we will go to today will not be too crowded, but I doubt it.
It's a warm and beautiful day here in Yellowstone, and this is kind of surreal for me because the last time I was here in Yellowstone was when I was 7 years old, and I don't think I appreciated it at that time or could appreciate it at that time, just because we came in the summer and it was hot and we were in the van with my grandparents and my family, and yeah, I think I saw the different things and didn't think it was very interesting at the time. So I'm excited to be able to look at it with new eyes today.
Our first stop here in Yellowstone is the Mammoth Hot Springs. It's divided into the upper terrace and the lower terrace areas. I've actually never been to Yellowstone, so everything will be very new. I actually have no idea what to expect. I've only done minimal research, and so I am just open to what we will see today.
The Mammoth Hot Springs area contains nearly 50 hot springs. The water, heated by an underground magma chamber, mixes with various gases and dissolves limestone, leaving the white, chalky mineral deposits that form these terraces.
We've now reached one of the most iconic places at Mammoth Hot Springs, which is the Mound Terrace. And you can see how hot it is because you can see steam like kind of coming out of the water as they're, flowing down. Smells a bit like rotten eggs here.
One of the things that I didn't appreciate about coming here many years ago was the sulfur smell that comes along with a lot of the geothermal features and the really, really hot water. But it's honestly not as bad as I remember. Maybe it's because of my age, I learned to accept it.
I want to say that actually most parts of the Mammoth Hot Springs is actually pretty dried up. Some hot springs, their cycles actually fluctuate, and yeah, they can just become dormant, and the next time they have mineral water coming down, you just don't know, you just can't predict it. So it's been quite some years, since some of the springs have water flowing down, and so that's why there's vegetation and trees growing on top of it now.
Hello.
I wonder if this is what the surface of the moon is like. When I look at the news and look at videos of, astronauts walking on moon, I feel like what I'm seeing is kind of like the surface of the moon. This is kind of ridiculous probably, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person to make this claim that the surface of this terrace looks like the surface of the moon. Imagine like craters here, you know?
On the other hand, don't think it looks anything like what the surface of the moon looks like, so I heartily disagree.
Onto the porch of the visitor center or into our cars, all right?
We just spent a while looking at a bull and a harem of elk. They were holding up traffic around this Mammoth Visitor Center area. And yeah, it was just really cool to see that many elk all together at one time. Apparently they just enjoy the lawn around this area, and tons of people stopped to look at the scene and had to be told to get back in their cars or to step back. So it was quite a lively scene.
We made a quick stop at Undine Falls on our way to Lamar Valley to view wildlife. The American bison is the national mammal of the US and is the largest mammal in North America, typically weighing thousands of pounds. They may look docile, but are best appreciated from a distance.
I hope Jeremy takes really nice photos. Can't wait to see them. We're driving around the Lamar Valley and we're seeing a lot of bison, and Jeremy just pointed out that one is peeing and we should be looking at it. But anyway, there are so many bison here. We just crossed the Lamar River, and then afterward you just see like all these bison spread all over the mountains in different herds. Some of them are by the river, some of them is on top of the mountain. There's actually a few groups on the mountain. It's the coolest thing, just seeing wildlife in their own natural habitat doing their own thing, and they're not afraid of us. I mean, we're not getting that close, but this is the coolest thing. I love seeing wildlife.
Whoa. Action.
After we looked at the bison, we drove further down the road, and there were a ton of people looking at a few wolves and a coyote down the street. They were all decked out with their very, very long lenses and binoculars, and that's one thing that we wish we would have done differently. Definitely bring the binoculars so that you could see the wolves, but they were really quite far away, so it was pretty incredible that all these people camped out there just to see these animals that were so far away.
Hello everyone, we're at the fountain paint pot. There's so many people here. This part of the park is really accessible, so understandably there are a lot of people here.
Partially molten rock that's beneath the surface of the earth actually heats up the water, and so when the water can escape, it emerges to the surface and forms a spring. So this spring here was actually dormant for many years and just recently resurfaced.
We've reached the fountain paint pot, which is what this area is named after. There's just mud bubbles and you can hear it from afar. And it's kind of mesmerizing to kind of just watch and, you know, just think about what's causing these bubbles and how hot it is, all the different bacteria and organisms that's living there. Pretty crazy. Because of molten rock underneath, combined with different microorganisms, combined with water and heat, causes mud pot to continuously bubble. Oh, steaming right now. Whoa, this is so cool. I just walked through the steam, and the entire time the steam is blowing at you, it just smells like rotten eggs.
In hot springs, water circulates to the surface and flows freely, giving off steam and heat. But geysers have constrictions in their plumbing near the surface, so they periodically and spontaneously erupt.
Some of these geysers erupt pretty frequently, so as long as you stay and wait around for a few minutes, yeah, they're bound to erupt. Alright, we just finished our time at the fountain paint pot, and now we're going to go to the Firehole Lake Drive. So it's basically a one-way drive, and along the way there will be different stops to see geysers, hot springs, and apparently there's also a hot water cascade. So I'm excited for that.
The early settlers who came to this spring thought that the bubble that's coming from deep within the spring looked like a fire hole emerging. And you can see all the bacteria mats surrounding the spring, because the cyanobacteria, usually they are a yellow-green color, but after the water cools, then they turn into these like orange or brown hues.
So because of the sulfur in the geysers and hot springs, the area just smells like rotten eggs. And especially if it erupts or if it steams and you walk through a cloud of the steam, it just feels like you're getting like a rotten egg facial. In this pool, you will find great surprise. Jeremy's getting a rotten egg facial too. Whoa, that is cool. Apparently it only erupts every 30 to 35 minutes, and also sometimes it might erupt as long as 3 hours. But we just got here and it's erupting. Cool.
All right, so the White Dome geyser, it supposedly erupts every 30 to 35 minutes, but the period of time can be as long as 3 hours. And that's because geysers can be highly, highly unpredictable. So seriously, the moment we stepped out of the car, it started erupting. We had to whip out the cameras really, really quickly. The buildup of the cone probably shows that it's been erupting for a very, very long time.
I think this is like very exciting for me. Like, I just feel like it was such a treat to just be there right when we got off the car, and then I mean there weren't that many people there, and we were just there at the right time. I hope there will be more experiences like this today. Wow, we just drove past White Dome Geyser and we're now at the Pink Cone Geyser, and it's erupting too. Apparently this only happens once every 20 hours and the eruption lasts for about 100 minutes. Wow, we're so blessed to just see 2 eruptions back to back. Just getting this from the car. Now we've just hopped off on the biggest parking lot in this area, the Firehole Lake.
Steady geyser, because it keeps going.
Look at these tentacle-like thingies moving along with the hot water. This is my face as I'm getting the rotten egg facial. Alright, just passed through one. I feel like it's actually not that bad.
No, it's not bad.
No, Jeremy. Oh, rotten eggs. Oh, getting the full treatment now. Whew. Wonder how my clothes will smell by the end of today. This Firehole Lake Drive has been a much more pleasant experience than I thought. It's actually much more fun than I thought too. Probably because there are not as many people and pretty much it's a hop on, hop off experience, but there's lots to see and sometimes you might catch eruptions too.
Now arrived at the parking lot for the Grand Prismatic Spring, which is one of the more popular sites here in Yellowstone. We circled around the first time, but there was a line for parking. So our second loop, we got a parking spot and it was shaded too. Woohoo!
This is a hot water cascade.
Yvonne, don't even think about going swimming.
I wasn't even close, Jeremy. You think I would swim in this? There's just so much steam coming out.
So the Excelsior geyser hasn't gone off since 1985, and before that, the last time that it went off was in the 1890s. The spring water from nearby Grand Prismatic Spring actually flows down and has filled the crater that geyser left.
I want to go to the overlook, the Grand Prismatic Springs overlook area, just to see it from the top, because I feel like just seeing it from the same level, like you really can't see much. I mean, there's just a lot of steam coming out, and then, you know, from the platform you can kind of see the colors, but really you just can't see how grand it is. It's called Grand Prismatic Spring, right? How ironic that I couldn't see how grand it is.
When we went to the Grand Prismatic Spring overlook, it's just 1.5 miles round trip. Very easy to moderate. There's a little bit of an incline at the end, but that's where you actually get to see kind of more of an overview look of the spring versus when you're walking on the boardwalks next to it. You can't really see much of it, so it is a heavily trafficked trail though, so you can expect a lot of people to be on that walk with you.
We finished this second day by checking out some of the geysers in the Old Faithful Geyser area.
Spasmodic. It's like there's something bubbling down there. Oh, I wish we could see down. What is down there? Oh, I can see a little. Whoa. This one's kind of freaky. You can see all the bacteria and all the happenings inside this pool.
Everyone's here because Well, no. Either they didn't wake up early enough, or this is the best lit eruption of the day.
Nice. Wow. Wow.
Keep going. I told you.
All right, well, we thoroughly enjoyed watching Old Faithful to end of the day right after the sunset, and now we're driving all the way back home. But this is going to be the end of part 1 of our Yellowstone videos, so we'll pick up with the rest of our Yellowstone adventures in the next one.